Hey everyone, back for another installment here, Wicked Jelly. So, appreciate it. If you watched the first one, got to check it out. We're going to go ahead and continue on here because we still got 4 classes left to do. We did 2 in the last one. Kind of gave a little bit of a rundown of this type of game. So, Folklore the Affliction, it's the game that we are talking about here. It's going to go over, basically do the same thing I did with, there I go, saying basically again already. That is the last time I'm saying that. I swear. No, I don't want to do that because I'll get a strike against me. I won't swear. I promise. Anyhow, so where was I? Yeah, so 4 classes left to do. That's what we're going to be covering in this video here. Gonna do the same thing that we did in the first one. Kind of give a breakdown, what we have as far as their abilities, basic description, what they start out with, and then kind of like their attributes. Maybe talk a little bit comparing it to the first 2 that we talked about in the last video, the Arcanist and the Archaeologist. Just kind of compare them, just see where they might be close to the same or where some might be better than others. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the first one. I love how my voice just randomly got all high pitched there too. I don't know where that came from. So that was interesting. I know why it was the first time, because I almost said that word again that I am not going to say, that we shall not mention. The second time, not real sure why that happened. Anyways, so the first class that we're going to discuss here is the Avenging Madman. I really enjoyed this class. This is one of the classes I played when I did several of the scenarios before ever thinking of creating a channel for possibly, at least 5 other people that are probably interested in what I have to say. Maybe. Probably all family members. That's okay. But anyways, I really liked this. I liked the story. I enjoyed everything about this one. I thought it was a lot of fun to play. Um, I don't necessarily think I played this one and another one, and I'll talk about it when I get there. I don't necessarily know if it was the greatest combo, but I really do enjoy the Avenging Madman. So, his story: the Avenging Madman has a soul driven mad by loss. At the end of a hard day's labor, he fell asleep in the barn amongst bales of hay. When next he awoke, the sun shining brightly overhead, the sight that greeted him will forever torment his memories. His entire family massacred night his entire family massacred night by something clearly inhuman. But the body of his wife was not among the victims. Driven to the brink of insanity, he took his bale hook and followed the tracks to this land which is afflicted by things pulled straight from his nightmares. Rage is his purpose, and revenge is his weapon. So I just thought, compared to some of the other stories, um, his seemed a little more interesting, a little more unique compared to what you usually see in these type of games. Um, so I like that. I don't like his weapon. I just don't know how anyone could do much avenging with the bale hook. I mean, I would think, unless you're in a movie like I Know What You Did Last Summer, something like that is not going to get you very far, considering how you have to use it to attack. But it is a cool story, and I did enjoy the character. So he has some character focuses as well, 2 just like the other ones. The first one is Avenger. Your newfound purpose is to avenge those that have perished at the hands of evil. Once per story, choose an option. You may not change it until the next story. The Avenger gives all other characters fighting the same foe as he is a +1 damage to melee attacks, or at the start of an encounter, place a tracking token on a target. As long as you do not change targets, you inflict +1 damage against it. Not too bad. It's kind of a nice ability there. I enjoyed it. I think that's the one I used. I don't know. Let's see what the other one is. Savage. Your rage becomes your most reliable weapon. See, even now, his rage is more than his bell hook. Anyways, once per chapter, roll for a creature type to focus your hatred upon. When hit by a creature of this type, they lose 1 Vita. You may add half the value of your current power points to your might, rounded down. And then focus your rage. Rah! That's pretty cool. So those are the different types that you will come across in the game. Make a little more sense when we actually take a look at some of the creatures. But I honestly can't remember which one I used. They're both, I think, fairly good in their own ways. I kind of think the Avenger one would be better if you had a bigger group. I don't really know if it's so beneficial when it's just you and one other person. I think Savage is kind of nice. I really do. That's not too shabby. So that's what we got as far as that goes. Let's go take a look at his starting abilities and equipment. Actually, now that I think about it, before I get into the starting abilities and starting equipment, I think it was the Avenger one I used, because when you read the Savage one, I mean, it'd be kind of cool if you could choose, but I guess the problem might be if you roll for a type of creature that you don't even encounter in that chapter, then your Savage character focus is kind of a waste. So, yeah, it was Avenger that I used, and actually the Avenger one is definitely a lot better than the Savage one. The Savage one is too risky. It's not going to do you any good if you get the advantage against ethereal or ghost type creatures and the chapter doesn't even have anything like that. Then what's the point? Anyways, so starting abilities, he gets 2. There's his cards right there. First one, Environmental Slaughter. Man. So, I guess he's not a Greenpeace fan, huh? Anyways, it falls underneath Revenge. And it's when an adjacent corporeal foe dies, tear a limb from its body and slam it into an enemy up to 2 spaces away, dealing 1d6 damage. And you can do that once per round. See another icon in there. I think that's the first time we've encountered it, the hourglass, but again, we'll talk about that more when we start discussing actually attacking or using your abilities and those type of cards. And then you have Keep It Coming, Fierce, Avenging Madman. Ignore 1d4 damage from an attack, usable during a skirmish. And I don't think I really touched on it, but there's actually a difference between encounters and skirmishes. It's a little interesting how they did it. It was a little weird for me at first, but I mean, I get it now. It makes sense. So, and actually kind of like it. And then there's the, so those are actually pretty good abilities. Very nifty. And then you have the Bell Hook. Yep, that still doesn't make any sense to me. But anyways, he has his little Bell Hook that it's got +5 might, 1d4, but if you notice, it's 1d4 +1 damage. one-handed, also worth 10 coins. Then he's another one that starts out with a trusty bandage. I think they all do, actually. Of course, now that I said that, I'll get to the next one and it won't have one. But anyways, so, yep, got a bandage. And that pretty much covers all of that. So then what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and take a look at his character sheet. Alright, here we go. Here's his character card. Still though, I mean, you gotta admit, the fact that he has an ability that he can rip off a piece of the mob he's fighting and cause that much damage by throwing it at another one, that's pretty cool. So, I don't know. I could just picture that. It just seems like it'd be hilarious to me to just see some guy like frothing at the mouth, throwing around people's limbs. Utter chaos. Okay, anyways, so there he is. He's all avenging, looking fierce, with him and his sideburns, just going at it. Got his attributes there. He also has 23 Vita. Thought it might be a little bit higher than that, but the one thing very significant about him is his 39 defense. I would have to say he's probably the tankiest character. I mean, he can take a lot. So 39 defense, I believe, is the highest out of all of them. Plus 5 might. That's also pretty damn good. Can't go wrong there. Plus 2 damage bonus. Pretty much him and the Arcanist are pretty much the same as far as that goes. Still one better than the Archaeologist. But pretty much the same with the other two. He has 5 power points, just like the other ones, and a 4 stride, just like the other ones. As far as skills go, he's got a plus 2 in ecology and a plus 2 in nerve. So, I mean, I guess you could say that's one thing, is he has one less skill boon or, plus advantage. However, he's got plus 2 in both of the ones that he has, whereas the Archaeologist and the Arcanist, they only have that in 1 for each of them, and then they have a plus 1, the 2 other ones. For what I remember, the nerve one came into play quite a lot. I honestly don't even really remember if ecology did much of anything from what I played. But again, that could be different. And also, it's not even just these. Your skills aren't always about trying to do a saving throw against what a monster does. There's other times that you use them as well. So that pretty much covers that. Starting equipment. Yep, he gets the bell hook and the bandage. Mystic knowledge. He doesn't have any. I don't think it's a big deal with him, though, because he has some really good abilities, and his stats are pretty damn good. Special ability, Insanity. You are compelled to fling yourself into melee combat, making you unable to use ranged weapons. You can never be deranged. So that's not really bad. I mean, he's not the type of character that you'd want to use ranged weapons anyways. And then his keywords are fierce and revenge. So, there you go. The Avenging Madman. And you can see his little miniature down there. Strutting his stuff. He's got places to go. Werewolves to bail. But that's the Avenging Madman. So, on to the next one. Alright, the Exorcist. There we go. There he is in all his glory, with his little incense and his baby rattle. It's not a baby rattle. It's a holy hand grenade. No. I'll say the name of it when I get there, because I don't even know how you say it. So we'll be able to enjoy the amusing part of me trying to say it when I'm there. And I don't want to say it more than once. But anyways, so that's The Exorcist. This was the other class that I played, along with the Avenging Madman. And like I was saying before, it probably was more me than the two classes, but it was fine in the beginning, but it seemed to, from what I remember, get very difficult when you started getting into the more challenging scenarios. But, we'll see. That was my first run through, and I know more now than I did then. I know it doesn't sound like it, but I trust me, I do. Scary thought, huh? But anyways, so this is The Exorcist. The Exorcist is a priest of sound mind and body, whose training and purposes are to seek out those evil forces and beings that wreak havoc on our world. He is a true spiritual warrior, armed and ready to go head to head against those things that have crept up from the cracks of hell to torment mankind. So there you go. And he has his incense ready to treat them to, I don't know, incense smell. You ever smell incense? I used to be an older boy way back in the day, so it has a very weird smell to it. But anyways, never saw anybody have the baby rattle, so I'm not sure about that. But I also don't really know how that could, really cause any damage, because it just it's so small. It looks like a giant lollipop. So maybe it's his Tootsie Roll. Anyways, like with the other ones, you have two character focuses that you can choose from. First one is Sanctifier. Your mission is to cleanse the world of evil and bring it back towards the light. As a Sanctifier, use your gifts to seek out that which has become tainted and transform it back into its proper form. You may not sacrifice companions in order to avoid an attack or taking damage. Instead, you receive +2 max Vita for every companion you have. And you may choose to consume holy water to heal 1d6 Vita to you or your allies, divided as you choose. So we'll talk more about companions later on. I'm almost positive that I took Banisher, because I didn't really know if and when companions would come into play, because I didn't start out with any, so it was kind of like, didn't really make a lot of sense for me to do that one. And I believe one of his attributes that he starts out with is a heal as well, so I wasn't overly concerned about that. And that may have been my mistake, but we'll see. And the other one's Banisher. Your keen senses for sniffing out the diabolic has empowered you to eliminate these wicked influences and send them back from whence they came. So this is your good old power of Christ compels you, dude. Just going at it. Or like John Constantine. So, yeah, speaking of that, man, John Constantine. I mean, the guy that plays him on Legends of Tomorrow and it was on Constantine, he's so good at it. I don't understand why they can't they can't find good material for him to use. I don't know. I feel like that should have been on, HBO Max or DC or whatever, somewhere where they could have taken on the more mature content and not just really dumbed it down. But man, the guy that plays that role, he is Constantine. He is. Sorry, Keanu. I love you, but you're no Constantine. My bad. Anyways, you're driven to find and vanquish those that are not welcome among mortals, banishing them to oblivion. Cause +1 damage to attacks against the fallen creature types. Got 3 different types there. And receive +2 damage to terrifying versions of these creatures, which I'm sure is pretty self-explanatory. They're obviously, more powerful. So, it's nice. I know that's the one I used. Like I said, didn't really work the greatest for me, further into the game that I got. But again, I didn't get that far into it, and I didn't really know what I was doing, even more so then than now. So could have been a lot of that. But that basically covers that. And now, next on to the Exorcist's equipment. Okay, so here you go. Just like the other ones, he starts off with two abilities. The first one is the Blessing of the Cross. It's holy. Has his class in there again, the Exorcist. Inflict 1d6 damage to any one demonic, spirit, or undead creature. So it's a pretty nice ability. It's a ranged ability, which is also very nice. I can't remember exactly if that 2 arrows may mean up to 2 spaces. I'm not sure. I will look at that whenever we get there. I've got to remind myself if that's the case. And then, of course, the other one is Purification, which is Cook and Holy. Cook, really? That's okay, interesting. I guess you're cooking out that evil. You know, suppose that's the case. Restore 4 Vita to yourself or an adjacent ally, usable during a skirmish. And that's one of the reasons that I picked him, because I thought I only have 2. Kind of need something that can, heal up in case I get in a bad spot. And that may have been the reason I struggled. But we'll see. Starting equipment. I mean, at this point, I feel like whoever was making this was just like, we need to come up with some really difficult things for people to say, because it's funny, especially if you're around and you're trying to hear them say it. I have no idea if this is correct, but I'm going to call it an aspergillum. So it's fillable, +5 might, ignores ethereal absorption, and then on there it says holy keyword required. Basically, that all this time that I finally did it. Well, once. It's not too bad. Anyways, so when we get to the other card where we have those keywords at the bottom, I'm sure if you look at his, one of his keywords is going to be holy, whereas on the other ones that we discussed earlier did not have that. So if for some reason they would have wanted to use this weapon, they basically can't use it. It's the Exorcists, Baby Rattle, and nobody else's. I actually do remember them having something like that now that I think about it as an older boy. I just never knew it was called that, I guess. It would just be part of the holy water. They'd have a little bucket, you put that in there, and then bring it out and just sprinkle holy water on people for certain celebrations that they had at the church. So I was raised Catholic, so not my fault. I was born that way. Just kidding. But yeah, so never knew it was called an aspergillum. So all the times I was an older boy, I never had a priest say, "Hey, can you grab me the aspergillum?" So it just was always with the holy water, and that's what on story I'm sticking with. Then, as you can see, they also start off with a prayer. That's one of their abilities. We saw a couple that had the ritual, so the Exorcist uses prayer. I'll start off with one of those. And then also, you can see they start off with a handy dandy bandage, but they also have a thing of holy water. And the cool thing about that, if you look at it, I might as well talk about it now since it's right there. Um, Whenever you use something like that that has those numbers, you would start off with the highest number at the top. And then every time you use it, you would just go ahead and turn it counterclockwise. Yeah, counterclockwise. And then, so that way you know how many you'd left. So the holy water, can be used 4 times. So it's kind of cool. I thought it was kind of cool. Didn't work out the best for me, like I said, with the group, but I think if I was to do it again, I'd even have a different experience this time around. But let's go ahead and get to the character sheet for the Exorcist. I think after that, I'm pretty much going to end this video. I know it's an epic fail. I planned on doing all 4 of them, but gone on pretty long. You know, I'm a long-winded type of guy, as you can tell. So I'm going to have to do the last 2 in a different video. And bam, here we go. So here we have him, the Exorcist, in all his glory. He looks like Sam Elliott. I don't know why, it just reminds me of Sam Elliott. But Sam Elliott doesn't really have a beard, does he? He just has a mustache. I don't know. He just got that look. You know, like he would any moment would say, beef, it's what's for dinner. So, anyways, his miniature is kind of funny. See him throwing back that hand with the baby rattle, getting ready to just shake it. So, look at his attributes. Here he has 22 Vita. So, I mean, that's not bad. It's, one less than the Avenging Madman, but it's one more than the Archaeologist of the, Arcanist. Defense, 36. It's not the greatest either. I mean, it's only a difference of a couple points, but still. So he's kind of on the same level as the Archaeologist. +4 might. So, if he got in a fight with the Archaeologist, he could beat him up, but... Well, I guess the Arcanist too, but, he's a guy. I'm not gonna do something to a woman. That's just not right. And anyways, if he did, the Avenging Madman would just stomp him into the ground with his bail hook. And damage bonus +1. So, that's pretty weak. But, I don't think his class is really meant to do that unless you're facing, demons and that. I think outside of that, it's more, to me, it was more like a healing type class. 5 power points, same as all the other ones. 4 stride. +1 in archaeology, +1 in speech, and +2 in faith. Pretty much makes sense there. There's the starting equipment with the weapon that I shall not name. And the bandage, the holy water, he gets prayers. That's his mystic knowledge. His special ability, most holy. Your Holy Spirit resists corruption that would normally afflict lesser men. You are never affected by bloodlust. And then, of course, his keywords, which are holy and learned. And that pretty much sums up the Exorcist class. So, yay me. I said I was going to do 4 classes in this, and I got 2 done. In a video that's longer than the last one. But, thanks for watching. The next video that I do, I will do the last 2 classes. I promise. I don't think there's any way I could even make a video this long with just 1 class. I ramble on, but I don't know, that would be quite an accomplishment. So, not going to happen. Don't worry, I'm not going to do it. So again, I want to thank you for watching with my budding channel here. If you have any suggestions or remarks, feel free to let me know. Feel free to subscribe, hit that like button, do whatever. Outside of that, I hope you and yours stay safe, take care, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!